Ben here from the archive, here to discuss the first Halloween special. And this has to be one of my favorite episodes of the archive. Now, this is only about the first 10 minutes of it because, that's the meat of the episode if you've ever seen it before. Hopefully you have. You might not want to watch this unless you've seen it, in fact. Having said that, this is one of my favorites, but it's not an episode that I have very fond memories of making. If you listen to my commentary for Emergency Broadcast Salute, you'll know that I was in a pretty nasty car wreck a couple of weeks before the archive premiered. And now here it was a couple of months later, and I had healed up, and I had just gotten all the insurance stuff in order, and I was, in all reality, just starting to rebuild my life. Then, out of nowhere, my parents, both of them, had emergency medical issues. The ER, the whole deal. And so I wound up having to play caretaker to my folks for a few weeks. And at the same time, I was trying to do this. And I wound up basically being relegated to working on this late at night after everybody had gone to sleep. But I remember I really wanted this to be special. I really wanted this to be a good episode. And especially because I felt like I had just started to hit my groove. I think with 1/900 Archive, I had just started to hit my groove making this show. But like I said, I had absolutely no idea where to go with this. Now, I'd had a viewer suggestion pretty early on to discuss strange endings found at the end of videotapes. Which, is all well and good and stuff, but there really isn't much to discuss about it. So I held on to the idea, with the idea that, well, maybe if I can cobble together a bunch of these, I can make a mini-sode out of it. But as I was thinking more and more about this potential Halloween special, I was going, maybe I can actually make use of this whole strange VHS ending thing. Maybe I can make it a springboard into something bigger. So with that, I decided to see where I could go with it, and I started playing around with the idea of like the ultimate scary VHS ending, but it didn't really lead anywhere immediately. It only runs about an hour 50. So I kind of felt like I had the ghosts of, if you will, the ghosts of the Nostalgia Critic Halloween special and the Angry Video Game Nerd Halloween special hanging over my head. The Nostalgia Critic was sitting there pissing on Teddy Ruxpin, and then Teddy, of course, coming back to life and trying to kill Doug. And then with the nerd, he had been playing the old early 90s game Mr. Bucket, and of course Mr. Bucket comes back to life and tries to get him. So I didn't really want to go in that same direction, but the more I played around with this strange VHS ending concept, it became obvious that I was going to have to. So I figured, well, I'm really going to have to try and put a different spin on this. Now, having said that, with Nostalgia Critic and the Nerd, it was more like those episodes are kind of islands unto themselves. They don't really seem to fit in with the greater, I guess you could say, mythology of their shows. So with this one, I wanted it to kind of almost be realistic. I wanted it to be halfway believable, not just some one-off scare. So what I did was I decided that, okay, I'll go through with this, possessed VHS tape that's trying to kill me. But my twist on it will be that I'm going to be asleep at the time, so I don't even know any of this is going on. And I'm too dense to know that my camera has magically turned itself on, I guess, to film my own death or something, even though it's not pointing at me. Go figure. But I decided that it would be really a good idea if I could have, the emergency broadcast bot come back to haunt me and maybe the TV sign-offs thing in a way. And so what I did was I figured, well, what I'll do is these will be very, very stupid demons. They will be, not only that, they'll be really arrogant. So they're going to be all thrilled. They're going to kill me. Oh, they're going to get me. And they're going to make a big production about it. And they're going to give me the ultimate scare. And of course, I'm asleep, and they think so highly of themselves that they spend all their time trying to come up with this great, big, elaborate scare, and then the tape runs out. Well, I suppose you'd like me to discuss how I made this whole bit, huh? That's the white screen of death from one of my old VHS tapes, intercut with a bunch of stuff. And then unprocessed tape there, Max Headroom, yep, there he is. And they're already making fun of me. The demons are saying, here's a riddle. What has 2 legs, 2 eyes, and no balls? Ben! So you're already seeing the incompetence of these demons. And as for the soundscape, you're hearing a bit of the Anneliese Michel exorcism. She was, I believe, a German girl who her very deeply religious family thought she was possessed by demons, but I think she was just mentally ill. And somehow they talked the church into coming in and performing an exorcism, which didn't really work, and she wound up passing away not too long after. She died of self-imposed malnutrition and self-mutilation. A very, very sad story. And then the feedback that you hear in there is me finally making use of a talent that I had as a teenager, taking my guitar amp, hooking up some effects, and just coaxing the most awful noises that I could come up with out of it. So, yeah, I finally get to use it over a decade later. Then here in the emergency alert bit, where you hear the dual tone signal repeat itself 3 times, each time almost an octave up on the last, what I did was I pitch shifted it up an octave, but then I detune it just slightly to give it the most woozy, disorienting feeling that I could come up with. Then the emergency alert bot here was me playing with Speakonia, trying to force the bot, trying to come up with a fairly threatening voice, then trying to force it into inflection to some degree. So forcing it to, well, I shouldn't say forcing, because what I did was I'd record it, then I'd take it and I'd chop it up slightly and I'd space out the words just a little bit more so it wouldn't be just this endless flat stream of words. So I tried to space them out and tried to make it sound more human, and that he really was going after me, and that he had the means, and he was perhaps a little more human than I'd let on. And then here, this bit is actually pretty funny, the story. Let's see. I recorded the bit on Pro Tools. I pitch shifted it down a bit. Then I took the home phone, held it up to the speakers while calling my cell phone's voicemail. Then I took my cell phone and recorded that, and that's what you hear on the final thing here. Now, what had happened was I was working an odd job shortly thereafter, and I had forgotten to delete it, and I turn my phone off when I'm at work. But I turned the phone back on, and I had a thing saying, oh, you have 2 new messages. So I'm sitting there gathering all my stuff, getting ready to go home. And so these, I'm sitting there with my coworkers. They're all, gathering their own stuff. And I hear the first message, and then the second one kicks in, and it's very, very loud. And I think I made everybody jump about a mile high with that. So I kind of knew that was going to work fairly well. And then the big crescendo at the end there was me just layering as much crap as I could. There's some number station stuff in there, and there was some earlier too. And then it just builds and builds and builds, and then I took a crash cymbal, recorded it, and then played it backwards. And then here, now you'll notice the actual film segments, I intentionally left the autofocus on. First because I was tired, when I was first introducing this. Then here at the end, because the camera turned itself back on, and I decided not to give it the power to focus itself, so to speak. And that's about it. This has been a very quick commentary. But I do enjoy this episode, and I hope you enjoy it too. I will see you soon.